righty, I think I'm live. I'm looking at my phone to see if it's working over here. There we go. We are live. All right, so I do have my phone with me. If anybody's got any questions today, we are going to talk about rotary polishing. I've got Dee manning the iPad, so you can work on the cameras and stuff. What we're going to talk about today is this rotary polisher. All rotary polishers are basically the same. This is a cordless, battery operated, and I love this tool. I never will I ever use a corded tool again. I didn't think that would be true, but these tools are great. Obviously, the one drawback is that this is a battery and it's going to wear out. So you just take it off, have multiple batteries ready to go. The tool doesn't get hot like a corded tool, and you just put a new battery in. And I've never, I rotate 3 or 4 batteries. It'll last, if you're buffing straight without stopping, which, hardly ever do, this battery will last 25 minutes of constant buffing. So that's enough time. You just, drop another battery in and, off you go. So when you're using a rotary buffer, we want to talk about the basics here. This is the main tool that you're going to use in a body shop because it's going to be faster than a DA. We will talk about DAs and we will talk about the use of DAs, and they're a great tool. They really, really are a great tool. But I would never push a DA in a body shop over a rotary. This is a much more productive tool. This tool spins 360 degrees. It's not oscillating, so it's got a straight pattern here. It is dangerous, but in order to be productive in a body shop, you need to know how to use this. And this side of the business is really the first entry level side of when you're entering into the body shop area. You think you want to get into this trade. Maybe you were cleaning the shop for a while and the employer sees that you are a good employee, come in on time and all that stuff. He's going to move you over to detailing. And if you have these basic skills to use this tool productively, you're going to be an asset to him. Somebody that he can, spend some time with and, possibly turn into a body man or a painter. But you have to learn this side of the trade first. We all did. We all learned this side of the trade. The insurance company doesn't want to pay a lot of money for color sanding and polishing. And the owner of the business needs this side of the, this particular part of the business to work out so there's no swirl marks. And that is the whole difference between CSI and normal compounding. And we're going to talk all about that today. I'm going to try to keep this to 45 minutes. I've got a clock there so I can watch it and, not let this thing just go on. But when you're buffing on, a surface like this, you're going to use this as, like a clock hand. This is 12 o'clock. Even if this goes over here, this is still 12 o'clock. And then this would be 6 o'clock. That way, when we're talking about the degrees, where you're going to place the buffer, this is 12, 1, 2, 3. And those are going to be the most important areas that you're going to concentrate on today. We're going to concentrate on today. These are our pads, the CSI pads. They're Velcro. They have a 6-inch ring on them. This is a special backing plate, and you have to use our backing plate. Our backing plate, our pads do not work with other people's backing plate. You have to use our backing plate. It's a very strong backing plate. And it just fits right into that ring. So everything stays in the middle, just like that, okay? So when we touch the surface, 12 o'clock and 3 o'clock. 12 and 3. Let's get that, move that into the shot a little bit better. 12 and 3, right there. For a beginner, that's where we want to stay. 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock. Now, come back on me, Dee. So, a lot of people who came into my shop, and I don't know what their experience level was. I'm sure they were saying what they were told to say. They told us all, never buff up on an edge. Never do that. Now, even with old-fashioned compounds, once you got good at using compounds, you're going to go up on an edge. But what I found is that with CSI, you can immediately go up on edge. You can, once you get the product into the pad, and I'll show you how to do that, you can immediately go right up on edge and take those scratches out a lot faster. And I am going to explain diminishing and non-diminishing. We're going to go over to the whiteboard in a minute and we're going to talk all about that. But first, we're going to do some color sanding and polishing. We're going to sand it with 2500. You tell me, Dee, if this is coming out okay. Okay? We're going to tri-fold the sandpaper. And this is 2500 grit sandpaper. I've got a big LED light that's going to help us out here. It's actually blinding. Now, is this where we're, okay, we're working right there. All right. So just water. Stay in a straight line. Don't go in a circle. There's no reason to sand in a circle. I want to be able to see the difference between my sand scratch and the buffer mark. There's a lot of clear on this hood. 2500, like we talked about last time, is what you always finish with. And that's, I mean, CSI is capable of taking out any grit, but why work that hard? So now we've got a sand scratch that needs to be removed right there. Can you see the sand scratches when you go wide, Dee? When you go wide on me, can you? You can't see them? Okay. All right, so let's just keep it there while I buff these out. And I'll, okay, so we've got, here's the polish. Is the polish in the shot?
Oh, no.
This way? This way. Okay, so Ceram-X. Then we're going to use, this is the pad. This pad is a used pad. And that's okay. That little bit of product that's on there that's dry, that's totally fine. Put the product on the pad. That is the proper amount to put on a pad that's, been used. I want that product to go inside of the pad. Hold it flat on the surface. A little bit of pressure. Now it's worked into the pad and into the surface. Now, because it gels, it's going to stay right inside there. It's not splattering. I'm at 12 o'clock, leaning into it a little bit. Now 3 o'clock. You're not going to burn it. You can just come right up on edge. You can put as much pressure as you feel comfortable with. This is an aluminum hood. The actual pressure, because we do have a device that measures pressure, is between 10 and 15 pounds that you're applying to the head of the buffer. The product stays nice and wet. No need to reload. Now back off my pressure a little bit. Now I go to flat. Try and take out as many of the swirl marks as possible. I'm no longer trying to cut the scratch out. I'm just trying to take the swirl mark out. And remember, the product is in the center of the pad. All right. So, let's see. Can you stay tight on that, D? Come back to tight on that surface there. Okay, so you can see we have a swirl mark, but let's wipe that off. Let's make sure we got out all the scratches. And this LED light is just blasting. This is 65 Kelvin. It's a flex light, and it's blasting a hole in there. I want to see what the surface looks like. Not bad. From 2,500, what's that look like in there, D? Okay, swirls are okay. Swirls are from the wool pad. So, I just want to make sure I don't have any straight line scratches. And that's why, I use a sandpaper in a straight fashion so that these swirl marks are different from the straight line scratch. So now we're going to switch to the red foam pad. So that's the backing plate. This is this is fun. This is the our red foam pad. Attach it. It's really easy to attach. Put the product on the center of the pad. You don't need a lot. Put it on the center of the pad, just like that. Now with this pad, I am going to use it flat. A little bit of pressure at first because I want to cut out that swirl mark. Just compress the foam. The product lubricates the pad so the buffer's not trying to take off on you. Has plenty of lubrication. Okay, now I've got the swirl mark out. Now I'm going to lower the speed. Little bit of pressure. Okay, that's the slowest that this flex tool can go, and that's fine. Now I'm backing off my pressure because any amount of pressure that I put on this pad is going to cause a swirl mark. So it's really important that you learn how to use a rotary polisher without putting any swirl marks in. So then when you do use a DA, it even looks better than trying to remove a bunch of swirl marks with the DA. You really want to get to swirl free with this one single product. Okay, now I'm going to see what that looks like. So it's important that we wipe everything off. We can use water again. There is a cleaning ingredient inside of this that helps to ensure that everything is nice and clean. How's that look, Dee? You're looking at, I can't see what the camera sees, but what do you see, Dee?
Well, looks clear. Yeah, little swirl marks around the center.
Let's see. Are there any swirl marks there?
No.
All right. So.
And here too, you can see like the corner where there's dust right there, like the
Oh, yeah.
before and after.
So we're looking good.
Yeah.
The swirls look good right where that light is. Okay, good. All right, so we just took out a 2500 grit with a wool pad. Then we moved to the red foam pad. Go wide on me, D, go wide. So we used a wool pad, now red pad, and took out those swirl marks. Now we're going to talk a little bit about how this is different than a normal compounding system. Let me get this light off because it's so bright. Oh man, I'm blinding my eyeballs. Okay, looks like we got a lot of questions here. All right, so come on over to the whiteboard with me, D. Man, I can't even see anything. All right, Robert Greer is on. Now, you've probably seen a lot of videos from Robert. He just invented this unbelievable tool. Okay, there we go. We're learning how to do this Hollywood stuff. And I am just a body man, just a painter. So this is fun, and I really appreciate everybody joining in and just checking us out. But I see Robert Greer is on there, and if you haven't seen his tool, and I just watched the video, it's really cool. If you've ever buffed anything very big, you know that bending down and putting product on all the time is very, very hard. So he, being a body man, being a painter, that is the coolest thing is when I met Robert, he and I just clicked because, he knows what it feels like to work in the shop. You're working on commission. And this idea that he had, and it was a while ago. It took him a long time to get this thing done. I mean, it was version after version, but this is so slick. It looks like DeWalt made this tool. It's all cast in plastic and all the computer stuff that's in it. It automatically feeds product to the surface so that you don't have to do anything. You just hit a button and it puts it on there. And then, obviously, we've all done it before where we put it on the surface, and then he puts it into the center of the pad. What you just saw me do is I put it on the center of the pad so you don't have to do, what we used to have to do. But when you're using Robert's tool, it makes it easy, especially on something big, an airplane or a boat. This is such a slick tool. You don't have to bend down no more. So I just wanted to mention that. Thanks, Robert, for joining and getting on board. Let's see, who else? I think Tammy's on. Tammy Miller's on there. Great. This is fun. We got the phone here, and I will come back to this and ask or answer some questions, but I want to see if we can get to the whiteboard part of this. Can you see the whiteboard now? All right. So when I created this, being a body man, being a painter, being a body shop owner, I was so frustrated with what you just watched. It was nuts. I mean, if you used sandpaper and then you used compound, then you used polish, and then you covered it all up with some kind of glaze, and that's what it was called. Isn't that funny they called it glaze? Because they know it's covering it up. It's not for protection. It's just covering up everything that was missed. So that was a normal system. Compound, polish, and glaze. Now, we only used one single product on the hood. We used the Ceram-X with the wool pad. We wiped it off, put water on there, wiped it off so it's nice and clean. Then we hit it with the red foam pad, and then we hit it, and then we wiped it off with water. And the water has, the product actually has a cleaning ingredient in it, like a soap, a surfactant, so it leaves it squeaky, squeaky clean. If I missed anything, it's going to show up right away, okay? So, and I didn't even look at it to see, maybe I did. That light is really bright. But if I did, what would be the answer? And that is going to be on the question. If I had any amount of swirl mark on there, what would be the answer for doing that? Well, it would be just go over it a little bit more, right? So you just go over with the red foam pad. back off your pressure, make sure that the red foam pad isn't leaving any swirl mark at all, too. So now we're doing everything with one single product. So, when you get to the building blocks and how this whole thing came to be, I want to show you. Now, every single product that we have at CSI has gone through a rigorous program just like this. Doesn't matter what, any one of the 5 products that we sell, it has to be provable that is better than what's out there right now, or what was out there when we developed these products. So, this is called a golden triangle. In marketing, everybody uses this. You're going to have different things that you want to do in this golden triangle, but this is how products are made. There's 3 different positions. So, in a production body shop, what's the most important thing when it comes to polishing paint? Well, you just polish the car. You came out of the booth, it didn't have any swirl marks in it, and then you buff it, and now you got swirl marks. So what would you be trying to prove or trying to succeed at? Gloss. You're trying to get to that gun finish. You just sprayed it, it's almost perfect. It just has a couple of pieces of dirt in it. Now you sand it, and what a nightmare when you go to a compound polish and glaze. It's a total nightmare. Because I just wanted to deliver the car. I just wanted to get the car out of my shop. Now I got to put it through a whole detailing procedure that I'm not getting paid for because I buffed it. So CSI needed to answer that problem. This product, CSI Ceram-X, needed to answer that problem. Gloss is the absolute most important issue. More important than time. More important than cost. But because we're only dealing with one product, we minimize the time. We minimize the cost, right? So now, once we get the gloss, and we're doing this all with one single product, and we guarantee these results, we're mill gauge measured to be the safest way to polish paint. That means we're going to take off less material. Why again? Because of the way it's made. And we're going to talk about that on a different page here that I've got written out. Time. Time is crucial in a body shop, especially when you're only getting a small amount of time or nothing to do this. You need to be able to develop this very, very fast. And then cost, again, one single product. Gloss, no more swirl marks. Speed, cleanup. The cleanup with CSI, because it's water-based, you can do all of this in the sun. It's not going to get sticky on the surface. It's not going to get trapped in the door jambs. It has a surfactant in it. When you hit it with water, it all comes off. So if you hit it with a pressure washer, it's going to come off really easy, but you don't have to. You can just hit it with a hose. You're going to have to wash the car anyway. You just buffed it. You've got, color sanding schmang all over it, and it's going to be trapped inside the door jambs and everything, and when you wash it, it all falls off the surface. And I think that when I go into a body shop, and they're, really liking the way CSI, this right here, the cleanup, is what they tell me is the most impressive. Because this takes the most amount of time. We think it's the buffing or the color sanding. It's getting inside the door jambs and getting all that nasty compound that's been trapped in there, especially if you left it in there over the weekend. It's hard as a rock. CSI will never do that. I don't care if you left it on there a month. You hit it with water, it falls off. Okay? So that is important. And then cost, it's only one single product. So let's talk a little bit about how CSI works, how CSI Ceram-X works. Can you see that,
Yeah.
Dee? Okay, CSI ceramic polish versus compound. Ceramic polish is called non-diminishing. Non-diminishing. And we, crazy me as a body man, as a painter, were the first ones to come out with a single product system that competed against a compound, polish, and glaze system. And I'm happy to say that every single manufacturer that's out there today has a single product system to compete with us. The only difference is they still sell compound polish and glaze. It's, you know, I mean, if you know single product works better, why are you selling that stuff? You're going to give it to somebody who may not have experience, and I'm talking to the manufacturers, stop selling that stuff. It's bad. It will remove more paint than a single product system. And you just saw how fast this is. And I put this up against every other system on the market today. You're never, ever, ever going to beat a single product system. And I'm talking about their single product too. But I believe CSI Ceram-X is the best single product system on the market today. The absolute best single product. One, because of the way it's made and the cleanup and all that stuff. So, compound is a diminishing abrasive. And I'm going to try and do this, you know, try and draw some pictures here. Non-diminishing, tiny little dots, all very consistent. Every dot is the same. Every single dot. And you've heard me say in the last video that this product is capable of removing any sand scratch, as long as there's enough paint on the surface, any sand scratch. And I've done 320. You know, if there's enough clear on the surface, you can just buff and buff and buff and buff with these little dots and take out a 320 grit scratch. Do I want you to do that? No, 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 no. But it's a fun experiment. Now, diminishing abrasive, and the reason why this system is such a nightmare in the body shop is these are big particles. These are called diminishing. Now, when I hit them with the buffer, they break down into little dots. But in the buffing pad, I still have big dots. They haven't broke down yet. So they're constantly putting all these irregular shapes inside of the surface of the paint. And in a body shop, it's driving us absolutely crazy because as I chase these big particles and make them smaller, I'm taking off material. And I was, you know, talking to my buddy Chuck the other day, and you know, he's had a body shop longer than I have. I worked for him when I first moved to California. And we were both talking about lacquer paint jobs, Corvettes, because, you know, he owns Coast Corvette, and he owned Can-Am Auto Body way, you know, back in the 70s. And about the time that you think you're done with that compounding system, you're buffing right on an edge, and boom, that's when you went through. Because you're trying to chase these big particles and make them smaller. So the concept is just wrong. This is terrible. Then the next product would be some kind of consistent polish. And then the third product that comes in here would be the glaze that covers up these big giant scratches that you put in or you couldn't get them out. So that is the compounding system. And why CSI says, get rid of all those compounding systems. Get them out of your shop. There's no need for them to be in your shop. I mean, maybe you don't like me and you're not going to use CSI. Use somebody's single product system. It's just going to save you time and money. And, you know, because this is a training class for CSI, you know, we're talking about this diploma that we're going to give out. I'm going to come up with the questions from this basic polishing side. In the next video, we're going to go through the golden triangle on all of the products, on all of the 4 other products that we sell to the body shop. And we only sell 5 products to the body shop, and we say you don't need any more because it's all been built with this idea of that golden triangle. You know, we've got quantifiable subjects here with every single product on why these products should be in your body shop. So I will come up with the questions on, you know, what we have for the other products, but this diploma is really just for CSI Ceram-X and the rotary polisher. So I'm going to see if there's any questions here and see if I can do this. And I've never done this before. I've watched Tammy Miller. You know, if you've ever watched any of her videos, She's so good at doing all of this stuff, but I'll tell you, there's a lot going on. You're talking, you got to do all this other stuff, and now you got to try and answer questions. So let's see if I can, how do you get to the questions? Oh, there they are. Oh, wow, all this technology. My video feed is frozen. Anyone else's? All right, I see Tammy's answering a question. Something about a clay bar. Omar, I own a detailing business and do a lot of paint correction. Ceramic coating was wonderful. If I could skip the clay bar process. Okay. So, Omar, clay is totally different than polish. Let's talk a little bit about that because it is a question and I think it's a great question. Clay's unbelievable and you should be using clay in your shop all the time on every single car. Before you even start, it should go through a washing process and where you're going to do the paint repair or blend repair, clay, that serves. Before you do any body work, before you do anything. Because clay shaves iron oxide particles off the surface. And it's very important. We have a clay mitt. They'll be up on the website. They're probably up on the website now, and all of our distributors can get them too. They're super slick. They're a little bit more money than clay, but if you drop them on the ground, they're not ruined. Or, I don't think any of us ever throw away clay. If we drop it on the ground, we just knead it back into itself. But I feel bad when I do, if I do. And I try never to do that. So always use clay. It's not like polish. It's made to shave the iron oxide particle off. And I do remember, because I come up from the 70s, when cars did not have iron oxide particles on them at all. And I painted a lot of cars in the 70s. There was no iron oxide particles. But I've been told, and I don't know if this is true or not, that the catalytic converter, when we started, superheating the gas underneath the car, or the fumes and stuff, that thing gets to 1,000 degrees. Now it's going to start interacting with the iron oxide particles in the air, and then those particles are going to attach themselves to the paint, and they actually eat the paint. They actually dig into the paint. So it's really important that you get all that off, especially if it's a blend panel. Because if you don't, and you blend over the top those iron oxide particles, they still continue to rust, and now they're trapped underneath the clear. So it is very important to use clay, and it's totally different than polish. Let's see here. See JR on there. If you've ever, he does these unbelievable motorcycle helmets. Check out his site there. I don't know if I'm seeing any questions. Let's see here. Got a lot of people watching. That's great. That's awesome. So, hi Don Johnson. So, I just wanted to do this video. I want to stay, I don't know how many minutes we've been on for. Only 30 minutes right now. So, we're doing okay. I don't want to make it too long because I don't want to lose you. So 2,500 will be one of the questions. What's the final sandpaper that CSI says? 2,500. Can I take it further? Yeah, you can take it to 5,000 or 8,000 or whatever you want. But take it to at least 2,500. That way you're most efficient when it comes to polishing the paint. Then you hit it with the wool pad, apply the product to the center of the pad, get the product to the center of the pad, however you need to do it. Get it to the center of the pad. Cut it out, make sure you got all the scratches out. Then once the straight line scratches are gone, then you're going to go to the red foam pad and now take out all of your swirl marks. You're going to convert. Everything is a conversion. 2,500 would be, if you had a lot of dirt in there, you're hitting it with 1,500. Then you're going to go to 2,000. Jump in 500 grit increments. Don't try and jump in 1,000 grit increments. 1,500, 2,000, 2,500. Or if you can just hit it with some 2,000, then go to 2,500. 500 grit increments. That way you ensure that you can easily take out that 2500 grit scratch. So make sure, wipe it off, test your work, hit it with some water and a microfiber towel. Make sure there are absolutely no swirl marks in there. Then, we talked about the theory, a little bit more about theory. Most important issues in any shop, and it doesn't matter if it's restoration or collision, the gloss is what you want to achieve. You did all this awesome work, you spent all the money for these materials that are just working really, really well. You don't want to have any swirl marks. You do not want to have any swirl marks. You don't want to go backwards. So that's what CSI wants you to do too. It wants to help you to be efficient, doing something that's difficult. It's very, very difficult to buff all day long. Time and cost, are secondary, but still not bad. The time, it's going to be faster if you're using one single product compared to 3 products. And then the cost, you're only buying one product. So, you work on all 3 of those things and become more efficient in the body shop at doing something like this. So I don't, let's see, Omar, does the 2500 rule apply to the maroon pad as well? Great question, Omar. So we have a maroon pad that competes with everybody's cutting foam pad. Let's say you do not want to use wool to cut. Now, if you're using foam to cut, you already know this is going to take you a little bit longer. Nobody's foam system is faster than a wool system. Nobody's. I don't care who they are, it's not faster. So I would suggest this is where you start to move into the higher grit sandpapers. Will the foam pad, our maroon foam pad, take out a 2500? Yes. But the foam pad will also induce a lot of heat. Anybody's foam pad is going to induce more heat than a wool pad because of the friction. And the foam being plastic, the paint being plastic, you're going to get a lot of heat there. So you don't want that. You absolutely don't want that. It'll gator. It'll actually cause a gatoring to happen to the paint if you get it hot enough, where it starts to get a fat ripple to it. You do not want to do that. So take it. If you don't want to spend the time to take out 2500 grit, this is where you move into the 3000 and 4000 and 5000 grit. And this is 3M's system using one single product is they move into 8000 grit, all the way up to 8000, and they have one product to take out 8000 grit. But you got to buy all these different sandpapers. So, if we're working in a body shop and we need to get it done, use wool is what I say. But if you just cannot stand wool, then our foam pad will work fine, but take the sandpaper scratch up 500 grit increments, 25, 3, 4. I don't think they make a 3500, so you'll have to jump, sand a lot between the 3 and the 4. But yeah, it is a little bit different using, and that is a good question. So this works good. I'm seeing what the questions are, and having done this my whole life, sometimes I forget about these kind of questions, and then I don't address them. So this is good that we can get these kind of questions addressed while we're doing the polishing. Dabney, how do you recommend cleaning the red and maroon pads? Okay. Let me grab them. Let me just grab the wool. I go out of the camera a little bit there. So this is the wool pad. This is, right after I just used it. It's got some residue on it. We have bags to put these pads in. They're called pad protectors. Just ask for them and we throw them in. If you order from us or you order from your jobber, they're like 1 gallon Ziploc bags, but they say CSI and they're real nice, and they're called pad protectors. Always put these pads in a bag when you're done. And remember, there's no other product in this pad. You don't have compound, polish, and glaze in this pad. You only have one single product. So there's no cross-contamination. Just put the bag or put the pad in the bag, and then, let me go out of the camera a little bit here. Put the pad in the bag, and when you get time to use it again, you can run your fingers through the pad and shake off any loose dust, or you can run a spur through the pad. The thing about a wool pad that we don't notice easily anymore, and you have to remind the guys why we change pads, is when you're cutting, normally you're in a body shop, you're going to be cutting clear that's fairly wet. It hasn't fully cross-linked yet. You're going to get a lot of clear in that pad. And that's why it's so important. It's not so important to get the dust off the pad, the ceramic that's dried up on there. It's really important to sharpen up the wool again and take off all of the clear that's trapped on the pad so that the wool can cut again. So that's the most important thing with the wool pad, is keeping that tooth of the wool pad nice and sharp so it cuts real easy, like you just saw me do on that, taking out that 2500 grit. On the foam pad, you're not going to get as much clear in that pad, so I just take a microfiber towel, dampen it a little bit, just a little tiny bit, not much water at all, and you can either turn the buffer on and then hold the microfiber against that foam pad with a little bit of water, and then that'll take off all of the dust that's on that pad and make it nice and clean, and bring it back to a nice surface on the foam without running a spur into the foam. Don't run a spur in the foam. Just use a microfiber towel. So that, let's see. All right, I don't see any more questions. Let's see. All right, guys and girls. So I hope that I answered some of the questions for you. These are the things that I want you to remember, to get the certification. And if you want a diploma, all you have to do is text me or email me. It's probably better just to text me. My cell phone number is 714-906-6619. And then I'll email you and get your address, and we'll go back and forth on these questions for certification so that you can get a diploma. The art of polishing paint. Let's see, everybody see that? It's a nice diploma. It's a chrome-plated little seal on there. And it'll be made out to you in a frame. From CSI. Just meaning that you understand what I'm talking about. You might not even agree with me, but if you want this diploma, then I want you to go through these steps, because I believe that this is the fastest way to polish paint, bar none, bar nobody's product. Because you're just going to hit it with a wool pad, hit it with a foam pad, take the swirl marks out, and then move on to the things that really make you money, like painting or bodywork or things like that. You just want to end the swirl mark issue, and that's what CSI Ceram-X is about. So let's see if there's any more before we get off here. Troy, how do you sharpen a wool pad? Okay, so just use a spur. If you look up buffing spur online, it'll have a red handle on it. It's got it looks like a cowboy spur from a pair of cowboy boots. And you just run that through the wool pad and just go over it a couple times, and then that'll take out the dust that's in the pad, and it'll also help to break up that clear that's in there. Once the clear is just totally embedded in the pad, throw the pad away. Don't try and save the pad anymore. One pad should do one complete car. Don't push a wool pad to do more than that, because what'll happen is you're going to get a lot of clear in the wool pad, and then you're going to start to get these track marks from the pad's going to start leaving these marks, and it's just the clear that's in the pad that's leaving the residue behind on the car. So just, use a wool pad. If you're going to do a full color sand and rub on a car, you should be able to do a full color sand and rub on a car with one pad. One wool pad and one red foam pad. About 12 to 14 panels, one wool pad will go. So I hope that answers, how to sharpen that pad up, Troy. All right, everybody. So thanks again for joining us. And next week we'll be on and we'll talk about the other 4 products. And we'll go through, why these are built for this industry and how they, compare to other products and, just help to alleviate issues like fish eyes. When you're using detailing products in a body shop, there's always that problem of fish eyes. And there's nothing worse than that happening. And our products are made to work in a body shop environment. And we'll talk about that next week. So thanks again, everybody, for joining in. You can continue to ask me questions, and we can go back through this, and they'll be up there. But you can call me too anytime. 714-906-6619. All right. Thanks again. Bye.